Hey folks, this is Tolly and welcome to some more game dev. We're coming back here for a second stream today. We did a bunch of small bug fixes and general cleanup of the kind of AI, and now we're looking at trying to... I mean, there's a number of different things I could do at this point, but I think the one that I'm most interested in tackling is trying to get a defend ability, because I think combat is the thing that I really want to focus on and try and like improve. And I feel like with only the slash right now as like the primary ability that we're working with, we could try tweaking the behaviors of the AI pretty drastically, and we might be able to get some different experiences just out of changing the way that they attack, how often they move, how long their abilities take to charge. But I think I want to play with more the player's toolkit, see if we can get more variety and interest out of that. So all that being said, we need to make a defend. So let's see if we can make an animation. So off stream, I quickly put together just a single frame animation of, well, it's 2 frames but the same frame twice, of Hero basically holding a shield. Now ideally I'd like if Drixie could come in and use the same color palette and make it look good the way that she does, and I don't necessarily have the same artistic skills as her, but for right now this will work as our defend. So we're gonna get that exported and bring that into Unity. So we're gonna export that. Basically going to export that as a packed sheet with the JSON file set to array, and then all our tools will be able to take all of that and convert it into Unity animations. So let's take a look in here. We're gonna have to modify the, nope, brain thought about Unity, but what I meant to look up with was the animation parser. God, what did I call that thing? There's a script I have for animation for characters to bring in all the different character animations, and just searching animation is not going to find it. What do I call that processor? That's Univate. Let's just try processor. Anim prop processor. We're looking for the sprite processor. So in here at the very top, it should have a list of named animations that it's expecting. I would still like to make this more intelligent, but for the time being it's still specifically looking for a set number of names. And we're also going to make this a trigger based animation, so we will also look for the name defend, and we will set up a parameter on our animation controller. I believe those should be the only 2 things we need to modify in script. Otherwise, everything should just work. Yeah, that should be fine. Okay, so we've brought in our files. Sorry, just making sure audio looks good. And I think we should just be able to come in here. We'll need to reslice the sprite because there will be 4 new animations. Well, technically if it's doing the packing correctly, it should only be 2, but regardless, we'll do anim sprite here, and that should generate all of our assets for us. So let's take a look at hero, hero animation formatted. There should be a couple of defends on the bottom. Oh, we already had a guard looping. Did Drixie already build me the guard and I just forgot? Oh, we do already have a guard. How different is that from the fight idol? Basically just the stance is a little bit more... Just a little more like standing more stably forward. There's a lean, more of a lean is what I'm trying to say, and then the hands are closer together. I think I'm going to keep with the shield for now. I am curious to see if this even worked, because I'm not seeing the defend. Did it fail? No, it called animation complete. So it should have generated it. I'm going to just try hitting characters animation sprite, anim sprites again and see if that does work. Did not update. Oh, it did work. It just put them over here as this was the last state we added. Okay, cool. So it did make them. That all looks correct. I'm going to double check this. If we go project, double click. Perfect. And I set up a pause animation on the first frame, and it does look like that worked as well. Mr. Coder in Twitch chat saying, can I also suggest dark mode for Unity asset so you can get rid of all the light title bars and menus and clean it up? Oh, you mean these? That's fair. I can make a note of that. I don't think I want to do that right this second on stream because I'm on a bit of a roll with the defend. Well, roll might be a stretch, but I'm on track for something. But I can make a note to look into dark mode. Cool. So this is defend. I think I am still a little surprised. I didn't realize we already had this guard animation, and I'm just not sure which way I want to do this, actually. Because what I could do is I could grab this same shield that I created here, this little quick prop I threw together, and if we just toss that on there and even just move it slightly, that kind of tells the same story. I bet you it kills most of the animation, though, and it's probably going to need to... Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm going to leave the guard alone for now, and I'm just curious what I can get with this defend. So... partly because the guard is set up to be a looping animation, and I think I want to treat this more like how we set up Slash in the last stream, where it like pauses on the first frame when you activate the ability, and not actually set it up to be a looping animation at this time. Okay, so we're going to stick with this, and we're going to then need to make a new ability. So we have Slash, so if we go look at where we have that, if we come into here, I've never done a defend like this, I don't think. We did do for Era of Embers, which is the first project we worked on, which was a little out of scope, and infinite retries to defeat the Demon Lord, which is what we're working on now, was meant to be a smaller project. But this one did have a defend. It just inflicts a defend status. So what is the defend status? Can I reuse this? This overrides on damage. It tweaks the get base defense, and it looks like it multiplies it by 10. And the first value is the sort order here, which I'm going to assume is correct. So if you have the defend status, then it will just multiply your defense by 10. No, that's some old code. We now have on tweak damage. Oh, and we half the damage. Okay, so this defend status effect that we have from Era of Embers is just halving all damage that you would take if you have the status effect on. Is this a status effect that is handled by... it has no references. Okay. When we inflict a status effect, how does that work again? It's been a while since I've done anything with status effects. We call the inflict status effect sequence step, which, I see. We have a conditional status. So this one's being set up as a duration. So when it creates this status, it does a bit of magic with some constructor invocation. And then treats it as a duration status condition and then sets its duration. And then status type is coming from whatever type of status we tell it to use, which we're saying defense status effects. So this has to be the exact same name as the class that we want to apply to the character. Okay. This seems reasonable. The only question I have is, it's been a while since I've done any duration status effect stuff. This says on observation of new turn or on death notification, it decrements the duration. Do we still use start of turn? Yes, when the AI director finishes its turn, it tells all AI to start their new turn. So, okay, so the duration stuff should work. So, okay, so this should all be fine. Oh, I guess the only other question is, do we alert... This is only alerting the AI. Do we alert the player to the start of a new turn? I'm not seeing anything for that. So if we look at player director, this increments... Turn will complete, is round complete. Does this call start sequence, but never actually calls the duration start turn? So there's a good possibility that if we want the defense status effect to work on the player, we will need to be calling this for the player unit at some point. We're doing this on sequence complete. There should be a player director version of this as well. There is. No actions remaining. Or if we have an end of turn response, then we end the turn. If it has a plan, if it doesn't have a plan, and turn is not complete, and we're not transitioning, and we don't have a transition registered, then we open the screen for basically letting the player input to make their selection. So this is saying, okay, the player can make a new selection. This is saying play any end of turn logic. I guess it's also possible to get into neither of these. I think this might be dead code, honestly. I don't think we use MP0 anymore in this way. Interesting. Okay, well, I'm gonna say that anytime we open up the select screen, that is a new turn for our unit. I'm going to label this just because I want to make sure I don't forget about it, but I probably want to think about this a little more. But for the sake of moving on stream, we're going to say this is probably fine. So whenever we show the screen, we're saying that's a new turn. Realistically, there's like counters and stuff, and there's in-between turns and a bunch of other stuff happening. But I think for the sake of defend, specifically that status effect, we want to say that it only updates when the player takes another action, when they're given the selection screen, essentially. Yeah, I think that's not what we want to do long term, but that'll work for today. Cool. So then, that all being said, I think I want to steal this defend ability effect wholesale, and we're gonna use that wherever I can find slash again. Okay, here. So instead of doing a damage effect, I would instead like you to do a inflict. You don't need to heal SP, that's an Era of Ember thing. What is this custom notification? Oh, this stuff has changed a little bit. Okay. Mystic Coder calling out the question of why do we have the avatar? Honestly, I just like it, is the honest answer, but we can shift some stuff like output window such that hopefully it should never be covering anything. This section back here is also just some debug tools, which I'm not using a ton, and should be fine to be hidden. But I've tried to set it up in such a way that there shouldn't be anything back there that you are missing. I will say that this was being covered, which is my bad. But anything behind the avatar should be of no importance. Why do we have this hit value? What is this used for? Unique information. Is that not this? Interesting. This has changed a little bit since this code was originally written. This might still work. Maybe not, actually. Sorry, trying to process. Hit response, unique message, defend. That'll be in here. Oh, I see what this is doing. Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm getting the hit value out and I try and append it into the unique message. So if the unique message has any kind of like, so right now it's defend, but if it had that formatting, it would add this, whatever this hit value is, into that. That's fine. I think I can ignore that for the time being. So I think this should just work and should just show defend above the character's head. Yeah, this should just do everything I need. The only thing I might need to steal, because we're not going to do any experience granting, we're not going to do any damage effects. Like when this effect ends, really nothing happens. There isn't like some like attack that happens when we defend, at least not in my current thinking. I think it will just do a... It will just apply a status effect on initial application, which I guess really means that we need this up here. The inflict of the effect should happen on the initial ability. Okay, so instead of slash, we're going to play the defend. I'm just going to update this name, even though it doesn't matter. It helps with readability. This should happen instantly. And then when we actually play the the effect of the ability when it actually gets to the player's turn after whatever charge time we want, I think 2 is probably reasonable here. Then I think I just want to set animation speed to 1 so that the animation ends and we go back to idle. Otherwise, I don't think we need any of this. I'm just going to disable it for now as I think about it. But I think we won't need anything in here except for just setting our animation speed back to 1. This is still doing that. That's all fine. Is that it? I think... that might be all we need this ability to do, is just inflict the status effect for 1 turn, which 1 turn will be 1 cycle of inputs, basically, and then show a custom message of defend above the character's head, play the defend animation, pause on the first frame, set the animation speed to 0 so that it won't do anything, and then when we get to the actual CT of 2, so after 2 turns, it'll just set the animation speed back to 1, and then I think we don't even need to wait on a pause. We just want it to play the rest of the way through the animation and then go back to the normal idle. Okay, cool. I missed some stuff. Sorry. I mean, yeah, I guess for Mystic Coder, for your questions, I don't know if I can give like a holistic answer because it's kind of like, it's hard to say. Like for me personally, I just really like having the like VTuber avatar simply because like I've spent like 15 years on YouTube and I feel like it just identifies with like my anonymity that I've had on the internet for a very long time. It just feels like that type of like culture is something that I relate to as like the type of YouTuber I've been for many years. And I've just never done like a face reveal or any kind of like showing of myself. And so the ability to have like this digital representation of myself that I'm allowed to show without having to actually put my real identity out into the world is nice. I can't think of a better way to say it. But I do recognize, and you are not alone with your opinions. I have had other people come in and have, I'll say, less respectful kind of points of view. But overall, yeah, it could be smaller potentially. That's not an unfair request. But partly it was just because there was a little bit of trying to get the pixels correct, and it's still not. But if I scale it up and down, it tends to like have more wobble in the distortions. So there is a little bit of like trying to get it to look good at a certain size, if that makes sense. But I will reiterate, there's nothing back here that should be vital. In fact, I haven't clicked any of these buttons in the past, like, well, at all today. I haven't touched any of these. I suppose I could have, though. I forgot that, like, technically when we were doing the character slicing, I could have just hit this one button and it would have, like, sliced all of our sprites and done all our animations. I kind of forgot that button existed. I set a lot of that up for my wife, Drixie, who does a lot of the art. If you're new, that's Drixie does the art stuff. But I've built a lot of tools for her, and these tools are more for her, because having the buttons always available just makes more sense, whereas I'm just used to more going into like command windows, which is arguably slower, but you know, you get into your habits. Okay, so now that we've made the actual defend prefab, now we're going to need to make an actual ability. So if we go into, let's see, where do we want to go? How do I... Oh, are you serious? Okay, well, I cannot access something right now, so I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to find the JSON files. And we will manually edit this and then update some spreadsheets later. So I want to find the ability.json. Fine, show me any .json files. Okay, show me the JSON folder. Perfect. Ability design data. Why are you asking me this? Show it to me in Visual Code. Always. Thank you. Okay. So we need to make a defend. So we're going to copy this chunk. I'm doing this wrong. We need to modify our TSVs because I can't access my spreadsheets right this second. We need to do this via the TSVs, and then with the TSVs will get imported to JSONs. So we want to look at this data file. Perfect. Okay. And ideally, I would like to look at this in Visual Code as well, please. Better. Okay, so we're going to make a defend ability. Defend. We're going to give it a addressable ID for the prefab of the defend. Skill tree icon. For now, we'll just reuse shoot. This is the power, which can be 10. That's fine. And then menu, skill menu index, I don't think matters, but we'll set it to 3 because it looks like that's the order that I've done this on. That's more to do if I was hooking it up into the actual UI, but I don't intend to do that today, I don't think. So now if we come into here, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the tools to parse our abilities. So if I did that right, it should have added defend to the end of this list, and it did. Cool, that data has been set up. The only other thing that I need to make sure I don't forget is I need to grab this and apply this addressable to the defend object here. Cool. So now we should be able to generate that ability. How do I get it so Hero has that by default? Well, how does this one work? So this is applying the interact cutscene. No, that's the ability name. We're looking for the trigger, sword pickup. So if we go to our sequences for all our cutscenes, how do we give you / currently? We're looking for not front end. We're looking for not scripts, design data, sequences, forest. Those are all the reveals. Cutscenes, forest, W1, sword pickup. Let's look at that over here. It'll be easier to see. This is turning off the prop. This is unlocking ability /. Okay, so if we just do probably backend unlock ability. If we just do defend, should that just give us both / and defend when we trigger this cutscene? I think so. I think it shall. At least if I've set things up correctly. Well, it failed somehow. Interesting. I guess that's fair. So I was saying I didn't want to set up the UI aspect of the ability. It looks like I may not have a choice. Yeah, when it tries to create the ability, it tries to set up its skill tree associated with it, which is a fundamental requirement of my system. So it's trying to load that data, but it doesn't have any. So we're going to need to go to our scenes and go to the front end. Actually, I guess technically we don't have to do that. We can just go to the skill screen. This one. And then if we go to the node loader and we load the ability slash, that's slash loaded. Defend should be in this list, so we can go to defend. And I think realistically the easiest thing to do would just be to save slash's data into defend. And for the time being, that should just work. Okay, so now defend will have the exact same nodes as slash, but we're not really too concerned about like the progression system at this time, so I can adjust and fix that at a different time. So we got slash given to us, but we didn't get defend given to us. Let's look at the player. I have a feeling that it did unlock the player container. I have a feeling it did give us the slash ability. It's not there. Can I look at it here? Is it... It did give us defend. It just didn't hook defend up to anything in the UI. That's why. This component tells it which spot to go in, and so it added defend and then it added slash, and slash came second, so it overrode it. Sorry, wrong spot. Defend. So a couple of things. We're going to put defend in here as the display information, and then special is I think what I want to set this as, and that should assign it to the X button. So many different pieces. I am pretty happy with how quickly it's coming together though. Okay. Still no defend. Okay. We have a button east, button south, button west, button north. Button south has been set to slash. So when does that happen? I still think it has to do with that thing I just set. Defend. Ability type component. What is this ability type used for? Update ability at input based off of the ability type .get input. We did not assign special to the button west. I'm gonna guess that's what's happening. And by default it's south, and so it's once again getting stomped by slash. Okay. Small bug. I've never created an ability on the X button, so... Easy find. Ah. Did not intend. Okay, cool. So defend has shown up. Okay, cool. Now, I'm going to guess. Oh, that's an interesting problem. We've removed all the hit logic to defend. My ability system says that something must come back as valid. There is essentially a system running through this whole thing where when we go to try and perform the action, like you can see when I'm hitting defend, there's a little yellow arrow moving around. I'm essentially checking all directions to see if any of these directions would be valid to perform this ability. Now, realistically, defend should be valid in any direction. It depends on whether or not we want to have facing based damage like Final Fantasy Tactics or something. But let's assume for now that defend is just going to be the same no matter which way the character's facing. But it's trying to find a valid target, essentially. But because none of these directions are giving us any... Okay, let's take a step back. When I hit slash, if it sees a character in this tile in this direction from the slash ability, it then goes into the damage effect and goes down through and sees if it can hit it. And if it can hit it, somewhere internally as we're doing this prediction, it says this is a valid ability. And when it says it's valid, essentially you could confirm it. Realistically, I've set up my system so it auto confirms. If it finds a valid target in the facing of the character, it just auto skips that screen for confirm cancel, because I found it was snappier and easier for players to understand. But for defend, because it's never getting a valid, it's not auto skipping that screen, if that makes any sense. So we need to add some sort of system in here that says, hey, this is a valid effect. Even though it has no target, you can still perform it. If we look at the original defend, did this have to, like, I don't know if Era of Embers had this concept. Oh, would it have been in the inflict? Let's just do a search for valid. This might be a bit overkill, but I just don't quite remember how all of that works. So let's close down all of the Unity specific stuff. We're looking in this asset area. Set valid. Okay, I think this is the function we're looking for. Ah, so like when we perform damage, if we predict that the damage will happen, then we say that this is valid. Okay, so let's find all instances of this. So ways of setting things, an ability to valid are reaction input, which is a very special prototype thing that I'm not going to get into right now. Effect-driven ability effects. Okay, this is to do with some nonsense. That's not really a good case. Move. Okay, so when we perform a move, we say that this is going to be a valid, regardless of if we hit anything. Same, so damage are all setting valid true. Jump is also setting true to be valid. And then a push ability is essentially still just a move. Yeah, so basically the only things that can set an ability to valid right now are really, barring special cases, a move or a damage. Okay. I think then what I would like to do is add a new type of ability effect that essentially just says this is valid. This push one's pretty straightforward. Let's use that as a base. So we're going to copy this class and we're going to put this in... It's not user feedback. I guess it's kind of like a utility effect. It's not really doing anything. So this is valid effect. Is just going to say... I don't even think we need to get a tile. I think we say that this is valid. Just straight up. And then this shouldn't even need to override the sequence because it won't do anything when you actually perform it. Oh, do I have to override that function? Visual Studio? Please stop. Thank you. Yeah, it's an abstract class. I expect that you do override it. Sure, but I can have it do nothing. That's fine. Cool. So then we go back to defend. This one. Nope, I'm wrong. This one. And then we're gonna just copy this object. And we're going to add... Has the inspector stopped updating? What is happening? This is not what I have selected. Oh, it's because I'm running, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, sure. It didn't like that I was running the game while trying to modify this prefab. Sure. Defend... is valid ability effect. It needs no parameters, no conditionals, it just is. And then we're going to rename this for clarity. Cool. And that should be enough. Now we should be able to use defend. Okay. So it did work, but I did see an error of some kind. What was the error? Inside of Sequence Builder. Null reference object set to instance of type. Inflict ability effect is harmful. Okay. Helpful. Very helpful. When we inflict a status condition, we save out a property, it looks like. Defend. So when we do this, we save out color state as a property. But we don't use that color state here. This is just manually being set. So yeah, I agree with my previous condition or comments here. I think this is dead code. The question is, why is it breaking though? Because it's failing to find a status on the unit. Okay, so let's look at a very old version. Ward? If we look down here at Ward from Heir of Embers, can we find a version of Ward prefab? That's going to be one of these. No, that's the dungeon version. We want a player container. If we look at a player container, this isn't going to tell us anything either, because technically it was built via a unit factory for Heir of Embers. Yeah, it has a status added to it. And if I look at our player container, from ideally infinite retries? Nope, wrong one. This one, infinite retries 3D player container. This does not have a status component, and it needs one. Okay. Easy. Just a failure to set up correctly this thing months ago. And with a status, it should now be able to apply... That means that I've never done status effects in infinite retries yet. Interesting. I guess that makes sense. We've mostly been focused on a lot of other concepts and features rather than bringing over some of the old tech from Heir of Embers. Like, not all of it, at least. Well then. That certainly did something, didn't it? It failed to find the hit notification. Okay. So if we take a look at defend. I'm looking for a hit notification. Damage should have one. This is an experience. How is it determining which hit element is what we're using? Okay, so then what is... This is empty. This needs to be something. Let's find references in scene. Mist doesn't have one. Is that a mistake? It looks to be, yeah. Okay. I guess I'm gonna just need to pick one. Let's take a look at our front end. Looks like we have hit component, which is a hit element, and experience element. Those are kind of our two different types of... Oh, and we have level up. Yeah, I guess this is just a hit element. I'm going to give that a shot and see if that works. Interesting. It failed again. Oh. Does this need to be a self ability range? Instead of a line ability range. I think that's what's happening. So I think the reason it worked but didn't fully work, not this last attempt but the attempt before it, is I think I was targeting a slime. But on this run, or on that run we just did, I tried using it just in the middle of nowhere, and so it's failing again because it couldn't find a target. So the error we're seeing is not because it's missing the status component. It's missing... Yeah, it's not finding the right character. I think it's failing to find a valid target. Okay. Well, I thought adding the self ability range would have fixed that, but we're going to have to dig deeper. It's possible that by adding the defend to the initial ability, that breaks it. But that doesn't make any sense. Actually, it might make sense, because the reason this one worked is we have the ability affect target as attacker. How does that figure out who the attacker is? By just getting a unit in parent. If it's set to target, it's going to try and get a unit from the who we're attacking, one of our target tiles. So the inflict ability is a bit out of date. Yeah, I'm gonna have to debug a little. I think realistically we should be able to do the same thing we do inside of the animation system, where we can just say, hey, get, attacker, and that would solve this. But I think if I set the defender to have its ability range be self, it should be sending that as... Oh, is it also the effect that is wrong? Area. Yeah, if it's area effect driven, it lets the effects decide what's in its range. But in this situation, we want to say range self, and then full ability area effect is saying everything within range. So within the range of self, everything is a target. Yeah, a lot of our abilities nowadays are all effect driven. But I think defend still makes sense to be this older type. Interesting. So we're getting like this weird selection under our feet now, but we're still not seeing... Weird. But we're still not seeing it execute. That's probably because the self-effect stuff doesn't... Oh. Right. This is just old code. That's not necessarily wrong or bad. It's just... I keep forgetting how this older stuff works. So this older stuff, I don't think valid is as important as needing to have a successful targeting effect. I think it needs one of these, but I don't know how I hook these up nowadays. Yeah, because this used to be handled through the factory. Old code. Okay. So what we're going to do then is we are going to put this together in a slightly inoptimal way, where we're going to say this is effect-driven ability area. We're going to say the range is self. That should still function, but we are going to make the change here where instead of doing the afflict on the target, we're going to give it the options. So we're going to give it this value. Like so. And then inside of the animation parameters, this is used to determine some stuff inside a switch statement, which now in this case will be this part. So we're going to get an attacker or defender. And for now, custom can do nothing. We're going to need breaks instead of returns. I'm not gonna worry about error checking on null right now. We're just gonna do that. And I'm assuming we're gonna need to do the same thing here. Yep. So this becomes unit target instead of defender. And then same thing here. Okay. Could have made this into a function, probably would have been cleaner, but I actually don't like this code, so we're just going to move on. I think that I'd like to take a deeper look at the old ability systems for self-targeting. Shoot, I need to still set this. Oh wait, no, it defaulted to attacker. Actually, that should be fine. Okay, cool. I want to do a deeper dive into some stuff, but in terms of getting this functional right now, we're just going to kind of hack this together a little bit. Defend. Okay. Okay. That may look completely busted and broken, but it is doing what I would expect. So the thing is, why is the animation disappearing? That's kind of the big question mark. Let's slice animation. Give that another shot, see if that fixes it. It is not. Okay, so then we're going to click on our main character hero. Go to the animator. There should be a parameter called defend. There is. Okay. So if we bring the animator window down here and then hit defend, what happens? Disappears. Okay, so then if we come back over here and we look at this animation and we open up the sprites, there are no sprites associated with this. Okay, so then if we take a look at the hero formatted sprite sheet, do I see a sprite for defend? It's really hard to see at this size, especially with the text covering some of it, but I am not, it doesn't look like, seeing a defend. Yeah, I'm not seeing the shield. Okay. Back to Asprite. Okay, so we definitely added these. Export. Oh, when I exported earlier, I didn't output the right file, or I didn't output to a JSON file. Yeah, that should output to the PNG. That's the problem. Yeah, now the frames are added. So we will try slicing and animating again. Yeah, so we update the JSON file, but not the actual PNG. Okay, and then if we drag this back up here, we shouldn't need that anymore. Drag all of this to the right so it's bigger. And we activate defend. Obviously, there's a problem with the actual word defend. That is super off of where it should be appearing. That's to do with importing during runtime. That's fine. Okay, so then hit effect. Hit component. What was it called? Scene core front end. Hit component, hit element. Sure. Yeah, it's not big enough to hold the whole word. So let's fix that part of it. Can it be... eight? That'll fit. Okay, and then the alignment part of this is a bit weird. Because it aligns to whatever the unit is. I guess that implies that the custom... That's why. It didn't have a proper effect target. It needs to have the custom hit notification beyond the attacker, aka ourselves. Cool. So now the text should appear over top of our character. Whether or not we even want a custom notification is actually something I hadn't even thought about. I was just getting it to work. But we'll see what we think of this. I mean, that's defending. It is funny that the defend comes up as the charge timer is going. I'm just curious, if we set that timer to 5 for that initial ability, will it actually halt the gameplay until it's done? It will, but it won't stop the charge timer. That's interesting. So it holds for the whole 5 seconds, but the charge timer has already updated and is already being displayed. I suppose that makes sense because we don't minus the CT at the end of an ability. We minus it at the or at the beginning of a turn. Okay, we don't minus the counter for the player at the end of their turn. We minus it at the beginning of their turn, and the UI updates immediately. So as soon as we increment the plans and say, okay, this is the next plan that we're going to try and activate, yeah, it immediately starts showing the UI. I think there's a more broad problem with the way that I do my turn order manipulation, because I like sort everything that's going to happen. I think that the CT minusing should be maybe not even part of an ability, but it should be part of the turn order, and I should be able to control whether or not it happens at the beginning or at the end, or even in the middle if I really wanted to. But I don't think the actual updating of the stat should be happening like as part of the just like processing step. Because if I could make it so it plays the defend ability first, then minuses the CT, I don't know, does that even make a difference? I'm just thinking about, is there a way to get defend to show up before the CT counter starts? And I think I do want that. I don't know why, but I think I do. Okay. Well, let's see if this status effect even works. I'll worry about polishing the timing of all of this stuff a little bit later. For the time being, let's at least see... Well, number one, we should check to see if the status is appearing on the character correctly. So if we pick up this, get our abilities, and then use defend, and pause the game, and we take a look at the player container. I don't remember where it's going to show up. Is it underneath? Defend status effect. It is here. So we do have a defend status effect. If we... I lost the player container. If we then let the game run, does the defend status effect disappear? Yes. Okay. So as soon as the player takes their next turn, aka this window show, like the window never disappears, but when I offer you the chance to put in another input behind the scenes, it's removing the status effect. Okay. So now the question is, if we get hit by an attack, let's just do one for now. Be easier to see. We get hit for 12. If I defend, we get hit for 6. Oh, didn't get hit at all there. Hit for 7. Hit for 6. Hit for 14. Okay, so yeah, that is halving the amount of damage we take when the defend status effect is applied. Does that change combat? Because that's what we are working towards. Like, what does that do to combat? If we take a look at the enemy container, and let's say that we just make it so smash is overridden to be a range of, like, I don't know, 2. And let's say dash attack has a range of 3. And let's say the minimum distance, or max distance for this is 3. The max distance for this is 2. And then chase has a minimum distance of 4. Sure. And a min distance of 4. Oh, we don't have dash attack in here right now. Sure, okay. Never mind. One second. Let's say that this has a range of 2. Let's say chase has a range of 3. So if you get further than 3 spaces away, you'll get chased. If you're within 2 spaces, the enemy will still come towards you and try and attack you. Okay. Let's see how that feels. Zoom in again, my bad. Yeah, so we can't outrun. We can't hit for 2 and then outrun the enemy. But we can defend to reduce the amount of damage we're taking. And in here, it's really good to defend because otherwise we'd be taking 14. Or 13 to 14 times 2. Yeah, we can't outrun. Wow, okay. So I feel like there's probably a really good way to spreadsheet this out or math this out, but I'm just trying to intuit it, right? Is that if an enemy has a movement of 2 and a charge of 4, that means that if I have an attack that takes 2 turns, I won't be able to get away from them in 2 turns. Like 2 turns to attack them, and then I would need to move 3 spaces away, but they'll attack me before that. Yeah, there's a real simple bit of math here. That my charge time minus... If I take their total charge time of their attack, minus my charge time, and minus their distance they'll move on their turn, if that value is 0, I'm getting hit. If it's positive, then I can outrun them, or I can evade their attack while getting a hit in. Okay. I'm not initially sure what I want to do with that information. Oh, I messed up their chase. Their chase behavior is wrong. Oh, I modified their CT. I want the CT to be 1. Min distance 3. Yeah, no. Okay, that's... I'm not sure why I changed that. Okay. Zoom in, zoom in. Remember to zoom in. So here I can hit twice, and then because they have 3 turns before they go, I can outrange them. And then if I have to move back afterwards, I'm back in range again, and I can't outrange them. But I can move here and then defend, allowing me to get a hit. No, because they're still at 2. That's interesting. It's actually really interesting. Wait, why are they resetting to 4, actually? Shouldn't it take them 5 turns? Now it's 5. There's a turn order bug of some kind that has only just been present. Yeah, that was 5. That's 5. That resets to 5. Why were they sometimes going to 4 at their after moving or attacking instead of 5? Oh, was I just misinterpreting? See, this is a good example of why I think that the turn order stuff is not clear. I think my defend was lasting 2 turns, and my brain was just like, why are they losing a tick, or how are they getting a tick away from their 5? But actually it was me still defending for an extra turn longer than I needed to, and it just isn't clear that that's happening. Like, even with all the charge meters and the counting and everything, it's still not, like, it's working exactly how it's supposed to, and I thought it was a bug, and I'm the one who built it. Like, it's clearly not clear. I do like the experiences this is creating, even just in this simplest form, though, of just like, I was hoping, so what I'd like to do eventually is have it so that if I line it up perfectly so that my defend ends up being on the turn that they attack. So if I get to charge 2, if I have a 2-turn charge on my defend, and I manage to line up that second turn of the defend with the enemy's attack, I would like to have it parry them and they get stunned. Is something I think I want to look at next. So that the game becomes a little bit about trying to figure out how to get into the situation where I can, like, in this situation, get this enemy to 2 turns left and then hit defend so that that would parry that attack and stun him. But in this situation, the one to the left of me would still have 1 turn left. I think I defend this? I don't know if that's right, actually. And then I can back away here to try and make some distance. And then I can lure one of them with the chase ability closer. And then I can out sprint. Oh, is that the new technique? I guess that's the thing, is after they come towards you, if you let them chase, they'll get all the way next to you, and then you can attack them. But depending on how you move, you can get yourself into corners, and there's not a good way out. Oh, wow, okay. Okay, I'm starting to see some gameplay here. There's starting to feel like I'm making decisions. Like, I'm like, okay, how do I manipulate the enemy such that I can, like, hit him and run away and then, like, manage to get the upper hand and basically get damage in without being struck. And, like, there's ways of doing it. I can make that happen. Like here, I can hit for 2, or I can take 2 turns or 2 time units, whatever I want to refer to it in the end as, to hit him and get him to 3. And then I can move 3 steps away, at which point he'll reset and try and attack again. But if I move further, the other one chases and I can get a hit in here, get a hit on this one at 5, then move away before it reaches me, and then the next one will charge in, at which point I can hit it, and then I can again move away. So if I can keep this pattern up, I can get to a point where, like, I'm only having to hit one of them at a time, or I'm only getting to hit one of them at a time, but I'm never getting hit, except there where I messed it up and I didn't realize he was still close enough to reach me. And then I've backed myself into a corner here where there isn't really an escape route until I manage to actually kill one. And then I can keep this pattern up. It's a little more annoying when there's only one, because it takes a lot longer for him to get to the chase state. Yeah, because it's going to take me 3 turns to move away, and then another 5 turns before I get far enough away that he activates chase. Well, not far enough away, but until he finishes his previous move, and then he goes to chase next because I've gained so much distance. I can get another hit in. So it's like almost 10 time units before I get a hit. Right now, the timer, I've got it set for counting up for debugging purposes for this exact scenario. So to walk up here, pick up the item, get a slash and defend, and kill all of the enemies with, I think, only getting hit maybe once or twice, took me, you know, 1 minute 30 seconds or 1 hour 30 seconds. I don't know what these time values are going to be in the end, but there is going to be like a limit on how much time you can take to do things in this game. There's going to be like an amount where time runs out. So like you can min-max it and be like, oh, I can like manipulate the AI in such a way where I'm not getting hit really ever if you're, I think, good about positioning, but you're wasting a ton of time rather than just trading blows. And bumping the charge time up to 5, but giving him a movement of 2 creates this experience where, like, even if I move far enough away, he's still going to go into charge attack on the next turn because he's moved close enough that he thinks he can reach me again. And then I can move out of range of that, but then because I've set the charge timer up to 5 and given him movement to compensate, it now means that I have to waste even more time. Okay, so that's kind of like another semi-rule that, like, if I want to make it so that it's harder for the player, or if I want the player to have to waste more time to be able to get free hits on an enemy, increasing their movement speed but also increasing their charge time is a way to make it more punishing. So if I had like a charge time of 6 and they had a movement of 3, it would be the exact same pattern as right now, where you'd be able to hit, move far enough away, then move further away. Charge time would, okay, hit them, move away, they would move up, then try and do another attack, which would take another 6 turns. You could move away, but you'd have to wait out 6 turns before then they would go into chase mode, allowing them to get right up to you without actually attacking, and then you could hit them once. Yeah, so larger charge times and larger movement ranges means you have to waste way more of your time to be able to get free hits in. I think this is the type of gameplay I want, where, like, if you're low on health, but you're making a good run, you might want to, you know, manipulate the time a little bit. But if you're low on time, but high on health, you might make a decision to just trade blows and maybe try and get some parries and some defends in to try and, like, mitigate damage while not wasting too much time. Interesting. Even just having the defend action is something that we've been missing for a while, and I feel like it does add a fair amount, just being able to make a decision to, like, I'm not going to attack or move, but I'm going to just reduce damage for a turn. The AI needs to stop when you leave the room. That's something I haven't solved yet. Okay. Okay. I think this is a good spot. I guess the only other thing that I would want to think about is, how do I do that parry system I've been talking about? Like, what do I have to do to be able to parry an attack? Okay, let's see. Okay, so the enemy's gonna go in 3. Oh, right, I can just skip a turn. Okay, and then the question is, in this situation, this enemy is going to go in 2 turns, and I'm going to attack in 2 turns. The thing I'd like to know is when I hit defend, whose action goes first? So it's set up everything. There's 2 AI turns that are branched. 2 AI abilities. And it looks like the initial ability is playing right now. Okay. So initial ability is executing. So we did the defend. So what is this step? This is a delay, and then this is the actual defend firing. This is the AIs turning towards the player if they need to. Oh, this is the enemy's red attack. So it is player first. The player will execute the defend at the top of the list, and then any enemy attacks come further down the list. Interesting. So I think, in theory, where's that defend status effect? Where does that live? Is that technically we stole that from Heir of Embers, right? Yeah. What if we just made a new copy of this? And instead of calling it defend, what if we called it parry? Okay. And what does this need to do? I think for right now it can do nothing. Like, I think it just needs to do nothing. So don't observe anything, which would mean none of these functions are being used. It can be positive. We can give it a name of parry. I don't know what that's gonna do. I think that might just be a debug thing. I can't remember what the status name value does. Debugging. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's part of a UI system that we had for showing icons. Okay. Interesting. And then it's also part of a notification system for when it will add this status effect to things, people can be alerted. Okay, so that should just be a parry status effect. It's basically empty, and that's fine. What I would like to do then is inside of the defend, what we can do, we should be able to stop running at this point. Unity? No? Okay, we're gonna stop debugging because I think it's causing Unity to freeze. Okay, so if we open this version of Defend, if we copy the inflict status effect, and then down here, instead of inflicting the... please stop. Thank you. Instead of inflicting the Defend status effect, what if we just inflict the parry on ourselves? I don't think we want to have this show anything when we do this, because it's going to be on the enemy's ability to determine what happens if the player is parrying when they go to hit. So we'll just apply the parry status effect, and then I guess to make sure that we can see what's happening, I'm going to just add a defend or delay in here for like 15 seconds. It's just temporary. But I just want to see, does this apply the new status effect class that we've created correctly? Well, it doesn't like something. Did I not rename? No, I did not. Should be fine. Okay. So, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to set it up so that when I do the defend, it'll initially apply a defend status effect. Once it has applied that defend status effect, it will then take however many charge turns it takes, so it could be 2, could be 5, whatever I end up setting and tuning this to. It'll take a number of turns where you will be defended, and if the enemy hits at any point during any of those turns, you'll take half damage from their attack. If it is the final turn that you are defending, it'll execute the actual defend effect. And that effect will inflict not just defend, but also the parry. So in theory, I don't even need any enemies nearby for this, actually. But right here, if I hit defend, at this point, the player container should show the defend status. It failed to find... Really? We are trying to show... Interesting. Even though we don't actually show the icons in the current version of the game, internally it's still trying to do it. That's probably fair. So what we'll do is we'll go find defend, which is probably going to be this one. No, it's not. That's the ability. I guess this is just skill icon defend. Maybe that is correct. So if we just copy this and give this an addressable ID of skill icon parry, is that the naming convention? It should just be able to find this one. Well, it won't show up in game, but we just need an asset with that addressable ID for our game not to break. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm gonna make a note that I want to... Off stream, I want to dig into that because I think that code is maybe dead, and we might want to remove it because it's not doing anything. We don't visually show those icons. Okay, so same idea here. So we have performed defend. I believe the CT meter is gone. CT meter being gone means that we are on technically the final turn. So we should see... We do not. We do not see a parry. Because it is still failing to find a parry status effect. but we're not running to this for the defend status effect. It's trying to find an ID of key parry status effect, but it's not able to find that. Maybe I was wrong and the icon is a bad trail? Because that's the actual defendability. That shouldn't matter. Yeah, there's nothing else in here. Yeah, addressable invalid key exception parry status effect. Why doesn't it run into this problem with the defend? Predictability. Inflict. How odd. I'm gonna guess it's a timing thing, but I'm gonna just remove that code that I think might be unnecessary at this point, just because it's causing us problems with testing. But again, I'm gonna look into that because it's weird that the defend isn't running into the same problem, but the parry is. And I'm looking at my addressable object list, and there definitely isn't a defend variation. Okay. Defend. Okay. No errors. No issues in the console. Player container. I'm seeing the defend. I am not seeing the parry still. Okay, let's take a look at the defendability. Did I mess up the timing? No, the delay comes after the inflict. It is inflicting it on the attacker for 1 turn. I could move all of this to be before the animation gets turned back on so that we should see the character in the shield. I'm gonna try again. Oh, we're still counting down that 15 seconds. Because defend hasn't gone anywhere yet. There, now it's gone. Yeah, it's just not applying this parry. As I said, it's been a long time since I've done anything with status effects. I've made a number of them, like slow and stop and stuff, and even like knocked out, haste, disarm, defend. But like, it's been a while, so maybe there's some step I'm missing that I need to do in order to create a new one of these? Oh, I guess one real quick thing we could try is we know that it's working in the initial application version, so if we just change this to be parry, does that apply it? Just trying to eliminate as many potential variables as possible. Because if it applies it here, then it's something about the way that we're doing the actual ability at the very end. But if it doesn't apply it here, it's something about the setup. It's just fundamentally wrong. Okay. Player container. Open this. Okay, hit defend. Parry status effect comes right up. Oh, it did disappear quickly though. That is disappearing more quickly than the defend. Oddly. But it did appear. All right. No, too broad. Duration? Status effect condition. Okay, we have our breakpoint in. Defend. It's thinking for a little bit, but I think it did hit the new turn. It's so weird. The defend was working correctly. I just want to get any indication that this is... It's definitely paused like it's hitting a breakpoint, but it's not. There it is. Okay. Oh, interesting. It's hitting the on disable. I'm wondering if maybe it's trying to apply it twice that's causing it to disappear early. Just completely at a loss. To be fair, we've been doing some pretty good work kind of figuring stuff out and doing things for the last few hours. I feel like I am losing momentum, but I kind of want to just try and figure this out, this last thing on stream. There's Perry, okay. Yeah, okay, so it was about calling Perry status effect twice and applying it at the beginning and at the end. So, okay, so we can apply the Perry status effect, or we can apply the defend status effect, if it's the initial effect that we're adding. But we can't add both, seems to be the problem. So if we look at the breakpoints, okay. Yeah, this is the Perry status effect. We are making this constructed method and then we are invoking it, which is basically creating this add call with some special typing. And it's adding this child component of type U, which is the type of duration status condition. Okay. So it's adding a status condition. It's trying to check to see if it already has the effect in the children. If it equals null, then we add it and add that status effect. And to the effect, we add the child component status. Okay. And this is it turning on and setting up the observers that it cares about. All right, I can follow all of this. It's that when we get to the invoke on defend, that it just doesn't seem to be working. So we're invoking this. We're going to try and find defend. Get component in children. Defend status effect. It feels like what's happening is that it's finding the parry status effect and thinking that it's a defend status effect. That's what it looks like. Okay. Yeah, this is it hitting the duration and modifying. Okay. So if I hit this button, we're going to hit some breakpoints. Those breakpoints are going to be adding the status of type parry. It's going to come into here. It's going to see if it can get a effect of type parry. It finds that that's null. It's going to create a new game object below, which is of type parry status effect. And then it's going to add a duration status controller to it. And that's going to, on enable, set some stuff up. Okay. We're immediately hitting on disable. That's odd, but all right. Where was the defend? Okay, we're going to try it this way. So we're going to hit one breakpoint, which is this one. We're going to go through that one. And then we're going to get another one, which is going to be the defend status effect. And then when we invoke this, get child in component, this type should, in theory, be... Yeah, I can see the constructed method is add using defend status and duration status. And it found a defend effect, even though there's very clearly not a defend effect on that object. Right, like I'm not crazy. There's no defend here. It very clearly thinks there is, though. It thinks there's a game object. Scene path, forest prefab, environment, board, position 1518, floor holder, player container controller, defend status effect. It thinks it's found an object called defend status effect. And it thinks it has a duration of 10? Yeah, this is starting to feel like it's maybe a bug with Unity or something, like... Or the way that we're building a generic constructor is maybe somewhat questionable. The reflection feels like it's breaking in some way. Like, something is not adding up, because it is trying to add a new status effect of defend, but it is failing, and it feels like it's finding the parry. I'm going to try closing everything down and just reopening Unity and Visual Studio, because something just doesn't feel right. Almost closed OBS. Almost ended the stream, which I think we're close to. Honestly, I'm feeling like I'm running... Yeah, it's already at 2 hours, which is what I wanted to do, but I just really wanted to finish this idea to try and figure out, like, what is going on with this status effect system, why is it that I can add one status effect, but if I try and add a second one, it thinks it's already added and then removes it immediately, it seems? It's fundamentally weird. But I'm wondering if it is because I copied defend to make the parry effect. Like, by making parry as a copy of the original defend class, is it causing it to be, like, confused in some way? Because, like, I'm looking at the scene, and it very clearly doesn't have a defend in it. But when we debug through it, it's saying it's finding a game object called defend. Okay. We're going to pause. I'm going to go player container. Parry's here. Do we see anything at this point that is showing up as a defend status effect? No, not a single thing that references that script in the scene. Okay? And then we're going to unpause. Nope. Okay. We had breakpoints inside of the status condition. I'm going to try adding some breakpoints inside of the on enable for defend and the on enable for parry. And we're just going to see if anything lines up here. And then if this doesn't work, I will just have to solve it off camera and it will be sad. Okay. Is there any kind of like errors? It doesn't like me using the parent and would prefer if I use set position or set parent instead. That's not really the biggest deal right now. Some animations are triggering on the plants, but other than that, nothing really major. Okay, helps if I fix any errors in the code. Didn't fully uncomment something out. Okay. Still have the debugger attached. Let's run. Pick up the status effects. We're going to hit defend. Are you seriously telling me you never hit the defend? I have breakpoints here. Parry status effect is there. When this object exists, we should hit this on enable. Okay. Did I, like, attach to the wrong debugger? Like, what is happening? I must have misclicked and not enabled it? I'm... I am at a loss. Let's try this one last time. It definitely felt like we weren't properly hooked up to the debugger. I don't know why. Oh my goodness. All right. Parry on enable is being set. On disable. How are we hitting on disable already? Where's this coming from? Destroy is harmful. I'm sorry. We are just destroying the effect is inside of the is harmful? Why? Inside of inflict, we call... Oh, it's still this dead code. Okay. I'm trying to rack my brain on why we would ever want to do effect.destroy object here. Like, why destroy effect.gameObject? Like, why? This whole thing should be checking to see whether or not the effect that we're looking at is harmful. This has to be... This has to be a mistake. From like eons ago. What an insane line of code. Just inside of checking whether or not a status effect is harmful, we just destroy it. I have never been so, like, I don't even know if embarrassed is the right word. Like, my code has never done anything like that's the craziest thing I've seen while looking at my code from like the past 5 years. And like sometimes I look at my code and I'm like, why would I write it that way? But why the heck would I ever have put that there? Yeah, it just works. There's parry and defend. Removing both. I want to stop debugging at this point because I just want to see... Right now it's flipped, I think, because we were testing. So it's going to do parry, then defend. We want to do it the other way. Yeah, that's working. Oh my goodness. I'm horrified. And confused. And annoyed. I don't get... I'm like trying to imagine a world in which that makes any sense. And I just can't picture it. Like, part of me is like, there must have been some crazy reason for that. And by removing it, I'm going to break everything. But I just... I don't believe it. It's fine. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to assume that that line of code was just some sort of weird testing thing that I did eons ago. Like, literally 4 or 5 years. And I just never removed it. Okay, that's actually kind of cool. Sorry, I was gonna try and test and make sure that parry was doing something in combat, but I guess it kind of is. But because I've re-enabled the tweaking of damage, just to kind of get those breakpoints in there to see what was happening, it now means that if we line up the parry perfectly, so if I hit here, I'll get hit for a full amount of 14. And then if I defend here, I'll get hit for 6. And then if I hit back on this enemy, if I defend, I'll get hit from this one for about 5, 6, or 7, somewhere in that range. And then this one, because it'll be on the second turn of my defend, I'll have both the defend and parry status effect. And so I'll take 50% and then another 50%. So 75% less damage or something. 6, 3. Cool. What I eventually want to have happen is you take 0 damage in that situation and the enemy becomes stunned for 1 turn. But that'll be a separate problem. This at least proves the concept and shows that the character has the parry status effect. It is in effect and it is available in that moment. And we're taking full damage. It's not like the status effects are lingering for more turns than they're supposed to or anything like that. We're taking the full amount of damage when we're supposed to. Here we'll take 7. Here we'll take 3. Cool. Yeah, so then the next steps, which I'm not doing right now, I'm done. But the next steps will be to... inside of the AI hit effect, probably. Inside of here, when we go to determine our damage, we'll probably want to do some sort of check to see if the target has the parry status effect. We'll need some sort of conditional and check to see if it has the parry. If it has the parry, then we will... we will probably add a conditional property to say, you know, this thing must not have, it must have an expected value of parry as 0 or something. And then we'll have a separate effect that says if parry is true, then apply something to the unit to say that it has been parried. So its next ability it should choose as a stun. Which we kind of already have happening, or we did have from in here. If the next ability we plan is a stun ability, how is this being set? Oh, if we have a planned ability... Right, when we go to execute our ability, if we can't move... then become stunned. Okay, if our plan ended up going through all of this stuff and finding that there was no ability we could perform based off of what our plan was, and this character can't move, then we become stunned. Yeah. So this will be trickier because this will almost need to happen inside of decide next attack. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Sorry, I'm starting to dig into it. We're not doing that right now. I will figure that out off camera, but I'm sure it won't be too bad. We will figure out parries, but in this stream, we essentially built a defend from setting up the animation, getting this importing into the engine, creating a new ability effect, setting up our JSON files so that we could get into those. Importing everything. And yeah, I don't know. We did the thing. I don't know. I don't have any more review. I'm done. I did it. We did defend. This is totally signing out. Later, folks.